Hello, everybody. I am Jessica Bollier, and I am Gabrielle St. Clair's granddaughter, and I am here at her home today, showing you another YouTube channel. And today we wanted to talk about veterans. Graham is very passionate about helping the veterans, and in the works of publishing her book, in hopes to be successful with it, she wants to continue to donate to the veterans. So one thing Graham brought to my attention, we were thinking of topics for her next YouTube video, and she says, well, I says, have you been donating to veterans associations for a while? You know, what's our next step? Do you want to maybe do a fundraiser for veterans, so on and so forth? So in Graham's cupboard, we found, well, she showed me several organizations that she is involved with, that she has been donating to. So right here is the Paralyzed Veterans of America 2018 honorary member. And she's been supporting them for 12 years.
More than that.
More than that. Well, on here it says 12 years. Member since 2005. But maybe she was donating before that and didn't become a member. But anyway, so here is also another one. A 2018 Donor of the Year. And here we have Certificate of Appreciation, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. Here. And, here's another one for 2016. Here's a Paralyzed Veterans of America Certificate of Loyal Support. Member since January 2005. 2016, another 2018 from another one, and Certificate of Recognition and Appreciation of your generous donations to help provide much needed services for America's disabled veterans. Here. So Graham is very passionate about people who come home from the wars and have PTSD and trauma and have a hard time adjusting to life. They come home to their families, and maybe their families, you know, they come home as different people. So today that's what we are going to talk about. And so let's start with that. I'm going to turn my camera around, and we're just going live, candid, so this is not scripted or anything, and that's kind of how we do it, because it's funny, we sit here and we have a conversation, we get all pumped up about what we're going to talk about, and then sometimes I'm like, Graham, we should have been live this whole time. This is exactly how you need to be, because sometimes when you turn on the camera, we get all nervous, and then we forget, you know, what we're going to say, or
we start crying.
Or we start crying, or our passion becomes dull. And that's not what we want. So we like to just go candid and talk about it and
cry.
So here, I'm going to turn the camera around and turn this over to Gabriella. Yeah. All right, Graham. So tell us a little bit. Well, tell us whatever. How are you feeling today? We were just talking about helping people all over the world and everything, and then that's how we got on the topic of helping people in our own communities, in our own country, who...
United States of America.
And so, what do you feel most... where does your heart go out to these veterans?
Am I on camera now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I am? Oh, okay. Well, no, I have to go back when I was a kid. My cousin, I mean, that's, I think, how it started. My cousin Clarence, wonderful guy. I remember staying over there in Maine, and in his room he grew plants, you know, flower plants and everything. And I always enjoyed being with him because he liked cooking and everything. That's one of the big families that we used to visit in Maine when we traveled to visit our relatives. It was my cousin. There was a lot of cousins in that family. But anyway, Clarence, I remember because of his room and how bright he was. And I always went towards him because I'd like to see his room and the flowers that he grew. Well, he went in the service. He went in the Army. And he was in a tank, a war tank. And so, you know, life goes on and we still visit. And then, too, when Clarence came back from the war, he was different. His room was not the same. When I walked in there, it was like gloomy and hurt. He was hurt. He didn't, like he used to be in the kitchen cooking with his sisters, like that. He wasn't like that. He was totally different. He actually frightened me a little bit. Yeah, he wasn't that joyful person. And I remember sitting at the table with him. And, of course, he was a little bit older. He was older than me, naturally, because, I was a kid. And I remember him talking and saying something like that. Yeah, being in a tank was hell. Being in a tank was hell. And then his brothers and his sisters and his mother and father were very, very worried about him. They were scared. They were frightened about him. And I always said prayers for him because he wasn't that same cousin. Well, time went by, and I guess prayers work because he left Maine and went to Chicago and became a nurse. Can you imagine that? I mean, I guess he got so hurt and he got help that he went and became a nurse. And through the years, now, don't forget, every year we went to Canada and Maine. I think we seldom missed a year that we didn't go to Canada and Maine and stop along and visit people. And then many years later, I was grown, and I was traveling with my mother, and that means I was really grown, me and my mother. And I saw Clarence after many, many years, and he was back to being the nice guy. And he come back from Chicago to spend some time with his mother that was still alive. My uncle had died by then, and he was really nice again. So I knew what war did to people. I knew what war did to people. I was so grateful that that little girl in me and the big girl found Clarence again, found my cousin again, in the kitchen cooking again. Isn't that interesting? I find that fact. Anyway, getting back to, that's when I was concerned about that. But also, when the Vietnam War started and was going on, I did a lot of crying. I did a lot of crying. I could not understand why I was crying about the Vietnam War veterans and what was happening until years later, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And then I kind of figured it out heart to heart what was happening, because I really did some crazy things with post-traumatic stress disorder and didn't know that certain things were triggering me and stuff like that. So there was a connection there as far as that. And then that just started me more. And I have to say that when I started writing, I really said this, and part of my brain was, I'm getting published, I'm going to help the Vietnam War veterans, going to help the Vietnam War veterans, not even diagnosed then as a post-traumatic stress disorder person, deal with that. So I learned all about that in that way. But it also always bothered me. And then as I got older and older, and more wars and more wars, I've gone through all the wars on this planet. I'm going to be 85 in August. So it's war, war, war. And then too, what happens to these men and women that come home from these stupid wars? No legs, no arms, no eyesight, hit in the head, all kinds of trauma. Where are they? Are they being taken care of properly? No, 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 they're not. By our government, they're not. Used, abused, and what happens to them? These wonderful men and women that went for our country, for the United States of America. I'm sick and tired of hearing how the government, the United States of America, has sent millions of dollars overseas to help that place. Millions of dollars to help that place. Millions of dollars to help that place. Well, you know the places. I'm not going to name them right now. I'm too angry to name them. What about our guys? What about our men and women that lost a leg and did that? How come they're not properly taken care of? There's veterans out there on the street that need a home. They need a hospital to go to be taken care of. Sure, go to the hospital. You got to travel way over there to go to the hospital. They don't live there. How do they get there? How does a vet here get to the hospital if he's on the street? How does he do that? That makes me so angry. I'm crying behind my eyeballs right now. why I was crying before, so dry my tears. What happens to the mother and father that comes home, that their son comes home, their daughter comes home, and they're acting, weird? What happens to them? What happens to a wife or a husband that comes home and their husband and the children, their father comes home, their mother comes home, they're missing a leg or an arm, or they're not acting right, or they need all this. What happens to them? They should get all the help they need.
Hi, Sasha Bell.
Hey, Sasha. She's interested in what we're doing. I just want... Oh, yeah, I donate. I'll do that. But I don't understand why they can't get help. It's almost like begging for help to get another leg, begging for help to get help here, begging for help to get your brain fixed, begging for help. Oh, I watched Dr. Phil yesterday, and there they were. A mother and a daughter complaining about their son, what he was acting like this and acting like this and acting like this. Well, it ended up that he was post-traumatic stress disorder, and he had another initial that I can't think of, but it's about the mind. Something happened. He got hit in the head, and I wish I could remember those names, what it was. And he just sat there, and it was, of course, his mother is angry, the sister's angry, and blah, blah, blah. All that's going on television, and I'm watching this show. Well, it ends up that this poor man, he was a Marine. This beautiful man, a Marine, and they're saying he's acting like this and acting like that. He needed help. Okay, thank God for Dr. Phil, because then he says it, post-traumatic stress disorder. But this other thing, how a noise, a bomb going off, my God, there you are in a war, and there's a guy you trained with, dead, torn apart next to you. What happens to that person? What happens to that mind? That never goes away. That's always in your mind. Well, I know what's always in your mind because of what's happened to me, post-traumatic stress disorder. You can work on it. You can work on it, but it's there all the time. Do deep breathing. But anyway, yeah, that's what happened yesterday. So Dr. Phil is getting this guy some help. He's got to get on national television to get help.
Right.
I almost said the word F right now. What? I got to clean up my mouth. But this has always bothered me. It really has always bothered me. Didn't know why. Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, I froze the pipes in my home 3 winters in a row because, that's a story in my manuscript, you're going to have to read that, how I froze the pipes in our home 3 winters in a row because of my post-traumatic stress kicked in at that particular time of my life. And there was no reason for me to have lowered the heat, down, lower the heat, close the drapes. That's a chapter in my book about why the pipes got frozen in my home. Yeah. Thank you for watching. And God Almighty bless every man and woman and every family of a service guy and woman. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Whew. Yeah, I did froze the pipes. Crazy.